Abstracts are boring, they're dry, they're not marketable. Hogwash. Abstracts are punk rock, okay? They are, in a sense, the entire hobby boiled down to its core essence. And frankly, I'm sick of them not getting enough love. So here I am to evangelize today what I believe to be the top 10 very best abstract strategy board games of all time. Stay tuned. Number 10, Trike. The game revolves around setting traps for your opponent. This game is amazing. It's very unique. To play, players take turns moving a neutral pawn. I think that's one of my favorite things about it. This neutral pawn can be manipulated by either player. That's what makes it so unique. And you can move this pawn any number of spaces in a straight line. Then you place a token of your color in the space where the pawn stopped. However, the pawn cannot move onto or through spaces that are already containing a token. So once the pawn is trapped, the game ends, and the player with the most tokens adjacent to the pawn is the winner. I like the triangle board. I think that's really unique. There just aren't enough games with triangle boards out there. Also, the game completely replaces Amazon's for me, which kind of has this very similar feel to it, but I think this just simplifies it. It's so easy to teach, it's quick to play, you always want to play again, and best of all, it's free. It's completely free. It's a print and play. You can go on boardgamegeek.com and get the files. I'm going to make one day a beautiful wooden version of this because it deserves to be displayed on a coffee table like so many others on this list. Number 9, Circle of Life. Nick Bentley, the designer, describes the game as an ecosystem simulation with rules that fit on a napkin. I'd say that's an apt description. On your turn, you evolve a critter. Okay, a critter is kind of this polyomino kind of shape made of different hexes that are, kind of stuck together. On your turn, you evolve these critters by placing one stone of your color on any empty space with one restriction. You may not make a critter containing more than 4 stones. Then, once you've evolved your critter, you check to see if that critter you evolved can feed. It must eat all enemy critters which are adjacent to it and on which it can feed per the circle of life, a diagram that details the food chain, showing which critter eats what. It's brilliant. This game is easy to teach, just like the previous one, but it's got a really cool theme that comes through, and at one point it was way higher on my list. But that's not to say that it's a lesser experience now, but rather that there are so many great games out there that I've since discovered. You need to play this game. Number 8, 40 Bridges. I found this game on a YouTube channel called Pocket 83. It's a really cool channel, so go check that out. He'll even tell you how to make it. You can make one that looks just like this. It's very simple. The goal of the game is to be the first player to reach the opposing corner square. The board is unique in that it has 2 different types of spaces, diamonds and octagons. The diamonds are connected by these little lines, bridges, hence the name. The pieces are placed on octagons, must remain on octagons, just like with diamonds. Players take turns by moving any one of their pieces to an adjacent similar space. Each piece can also jump over dissimilar pieces. There is also a unique way of capturing that I won't go into here, but it's really great. I love the capturing in this game. I love this game because of the way that you can traverse the board using dissimilar pieces and spaces. The jumping and the crossing over the bridges, it creates this kind of dance that I find really hypnotic. It's a game that most people haven't heard of, but they should definitely check out and play. Number 7, Hnefatafl. This is a historical, asymmetrical, ancient Viking game that's older than chess. There are two sides with two different goals. The defending side is comprised of 12 soldiers and a king in the center of the board. And their objective is for the king to escape by reaching any of the 4 corner squares. The attackers are comprised of 24 soldiers positioned at the edges of the board, the perimeter, and they seek to capture the king. Now, all pieces move like the rook in chess, and pieces are taken by flanking, kind of sandwiching. For example, you move your piece so that an opponent's piece is trapped horizontally or vertically between two of yours. It's really the asymmetrical nature that makes this a unique experience from any other game on this list. That's why I really like it, because each side kind of is doing its own thing. And it feels that as new players experience this game, it does tend to feel like the king's side has the upper hand, that it's easier to escape than it is to trap the king. But I think the more you play, the more you can realize that the attackers can win by blocking off all the exits. And so it kind of becomes this race of trying to do so. And that's exciting. That's one of the reasons why I like it. However, I do play, and this may be a little controversial, I play as though the king can be captured just like any other piece. You see, there are many different versions of this game because no one actually knows exactly how the Vikings played this game. The rules are kind of lost to time, but we have a pretty good idea. But that being said, there are a number of different variants that are out there. The most common variant is that the king can be captured not like a sandwich, not by flanking, but by surrounding it on all 4 sides. This does seem to be a difficult task. So I like to play where the king is captured just like any other piece, as I previously explained, by flanking. Some people may not agree, but that's how I like to do it. And for me, this seems to balance the game just a little bit better, even though I do think the game is great as is, however you want to play the game. This is an amazing game. Everybody needs to absorb, to experience this piece of history. Number 6, Tzaar. The T is silent. I prefer this to Yinch. I'm just going to get it out of the way. I can't get a handle on Yinch. The community seems to agree that Yinch is the best gift game. I love this game. This is the one. Though I've only played Yinch digitally, I should mention that, and I am convinced that any game needs to be played physically before making a definitive decision, because games are, after all, a tactile experience. The only other GIF game that I have played is the titular game of the whole series, GIF itself, which is a pretty good game. Out of those 3, however, this is by far my favorite. The 3 types of pieces in Tzaar, you have 3 different types of pieces. I don't remember what they're called. They have weird names, each piece. But they form a kind of trinity, and they cannot exist without each other. And your goal is to make your opponent run out of one of the 3 types of pieces. You're shattering their trinity. So the tricky question is, each turn, do I make myself stronger or do I make my opponent weaker? And really, games should be always brimming with tough decisions like this. This game is enthralling. It's exciting from the very first move. You're already making calculations from the get-go, and you're planning out your strategy. This is a hit with everyone that I show it to. I'd like to make maybe a cloth board for this one day, maybe a wood board. That's my only thing about this one is the boards in this game are like they're a relic from like the 90s, the 80s. This deserves a more elegant presentation, but the pieces themselves are amazing. But it needs a better board. This game is great. 5. Shobu. It's so refreshing to me to see a modern, big name publisher put out something so timeless feeling. I mean, they really went all out with the production on this one. I mean, there's no plastic bits, Santorini, I'm looking at you. There's no cardboard, none of that stuff. This is just a straight up classic feel, that kind of coffee table presentation feel that in my opinion, every abstract should adhere to. It's just wood, stone, and hemp. There's a rope there in the middle. Now the gameplay is also incredibly unique. Your turn is in two parts. First, a player may move one of their stones up to 2 spaces in any direction, including diagonally, in what is called a passive or setup move. Second, they can take a more aggressive move, which must be in the same direction and number of spaces as the first move. It is in this second move that allows you to push the enemy stones across the board and off the board's edge. And if you remove all 4 of your opponent's stones from just one of the 4 boards, you are the winner. And it feels like this, 4 sumo wrestling matches going on all at the same time. So you're having to juggle what's happening on each board all at once, and it's just this great, really, really thinky puzzle. And this one is absolutely amazing. That's why it's in the top 5. Number 4, Hens and Chicks. This is a new game from James Ernest. You can find it on his website, Crab Fragment Labs. It is essentially actually just a companion game found in the footnotes of the rules for another game that he created called Fist. Now, Fist is a very interesting game in its own right. And it's described, this game is actually, it comes from a fantasy novel by Alyssa Wishingrad, The Verdigris Pawn. Now that game has a lot of really cool aspects to it, but ultimately it doesn't quite work for me. But that's okay, it's just in beta testing, and I'm waiting for them to improve upon it. Hens and Chicks, however, needs no improvement. It's incredible, and frankly, it's a shame that it's standing in the shadow of its big brother. Fist is the novel's equivalent of chess, while Hens and Chicks is like checkers, but way better. Each side has 6 hens and 10 chicks, and the object is to move one of your pieces all the way across the board. Now it sounds like, a very generic abstract, but no. There are 2 ways to capture in this game, and I love how exciting that is. One, you can jump like in checkers, and the other is pinning. Pinning is one of my favorite methods of capturing in any abstract game, because it opens up a ton of possibilities to really best your opponent. I love this game because it's action-packed right from the very first turn. Okay, the top 3. These are S-tier games here. So number 3 is Shogi. And this is another historical game. It's Japan's version of chess. And there are 2 main differences with Western chess. The first is that almost every piece can promote. It improves. You flip over the piece if it arrives to the opponent's last 3 rows, and it totally changes that piece's move set. It improves the piece. This is amazing. Imagine playing chess and your rook reaches all the way to the opponent's end, and suddenly it transforms into a super dragon. Okay, that's what we're dealing with here. The second and most distinctive characteristic is that captured pieces become part of the capturing player's arsenal. And during his turn, he can then drop your pieces back onto the board to fight for him. In my humble opinion, these 2 rules make it a far superior game to standard chess. I'm sorry if that offends you. I apologize, but this game is pure excitement. I just don't get that feeling from chess. Capturing and turning your enemy's pieces against them provides little thrills throughout the course of the game that you just don't get in Western style chess. Now, the only thing holding it back is that I wish the Western style pieces were more widely available. As you can see here in the picture, the kanji, the Japanese writing, scares a lot of people away. It's hard to read, and it just, yeah, that's a ding off the mass appeal there. And I'm convinced that if more people knew about this game, they would never go back to vanilla chess again. People need to play shogi. It is chess refined. Number 2, Go. I don't even know how to talk about this game. What a piece of history. Appearing about 2,000 years before the birth of Christ, it's still considered one of the most elegant brain burners of all time. Go is a staggeringly deep game. But the goal is simple: claim territory by blocking off sections of the board and surrounding each other's stones. And the game doesn't end until the board is full, or more often, players agree to pass, to end it. Then whoever controls the most territory wins the game. And there's just no other game like it, as it truly takes a lifetime to even be competent at it, I would say. I mean, maybe not competent, but to be a master, it truly takes a lifetime. And unfortunately, this is also kind of a shortcoming, since it's not very approachable for the average person. I do struggle finding people to play this game with. A lot of people run for the hills when I present them this game. It intimidates them. But it is a rewarding adventure. And I just have such a reverence for it. Even just the craft of it that goes into the creation of, the game's board, the goban, and the pieces that can be made out of just, clamshell and just these beautiful, expensive components. This is just abstract, minimalist beauty at its finest. And even though it is simple, it is still complex and intimidating. And I do hope that more people, more Westerners can be open to this. I went to the bookstore the other day, and I was looking for a strategy book on this. And in Barnes and Noble, I could only find one book in the entire store that even that is about this game. So it's not a popular game in the West, even to this day. And I understand why, but more people need to play Go. It really is a worthwhile experience. Don't be intimidated. Go play this game. My favorite abstract of all time, number one, Tack. A straight up classic that will stand the test of time. This game is the second game on the list from James Ernest. He also designed Hens and Chicks that we talked about earlier. He's a genius. What can I say? Tack stands for me shoulder to shoulder with the likes of Go and chess, shogi, obviously. It's a game like this doesn't come around every day. For thousands of years there hasn't been another Go, there hasn't been another chess, another shogi, and then 2017 Tack comes along, and you know what? It's one of the best. It is the best in my opinion. In Tack, players attempt to build a road of their pieces connecting two opposite sides of the board. I love it because it's elegant and it feels so classic. And also it's deep. It's deep, but not in the way that Go is. It's deep but approachable. And I've just had so much success with it, showing it to people that aren't even interested in games. And they take to it. They like it. It's a pub game. It's a serious game. It's a casual game. It's my number one because it fits so many different scenarios where some of these other games are a little bit more niche. This one just seems to be, it just seems to work in so many different situations, and I love it. I love it. It's a classic. It will stand the test of time. Tack is here to stay. If you're looking for more abstract goodness, I have just released my newest game. It's an abstract called Ka'a, and it's based on the ancient Mesoamerican ball game played by the Mayans. So please check that out. It's available for free. It's a print and play. You can also watch an explanation video on this channel to learn how to play. So go check it out. It's a lot of fun. And, well, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you in the next one. Take care.